Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the NSSR. This is your host, MÍtalks, and we're encouraging you to run your own race to medical school in one day at a time. Super excited for who I have here for you guys. Dave is an amazing, amazing human being from whom I've learned a lot during medical school. And I figure that his story will really help you guys kind of run your own race and really understand the depth of your journey and how important it is. So without any further ado, please introduce yourself.
So yeah, I heard Tommy was doing sort of this podcast or talk about people with sort of different paths to medical school. So I was more than happy to sort of come and share my story with her.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here. So the first thing I want to ask is if you can give the viewers kind of a 10,000 foot view of how your story is different from this norm that we're presented.
So I come from a low income background. None of my parents went to college. They got their GEDs sort of years later. So the whole process was quite mystifying to me, to be honest, for a long time. And I didn't even think it was a possibility for myself, although it was an interest. So I first went to college, which was a huge deal. And then even at the end of that, figuring out to go to medical school was even more confusing. So just without a lot of guidance, and then still with a passion for research, I did end up doing a PhD first, and then sort of went circuitously back to the MD through that, which I guess is like the overarching big view.
So, you talked about coming from a low SES background and how, this is not something that was familiar to you. It's not something that you even considered for periods of time as an option for yourself career-wise. Can you talk about how you were able to explore the field of medicine or your interest in research, given the fact that you didn't have a compass like some people are fortunate enough to have?
Yeah, great question. And I think I got early exposure to medicine through what many people do, which is family members and themselves. So early on, my father was in the military. He was in the army overseas, and he had a psychotic breakdown. And he sort of was forced in early retirement. So my family then got shifted back to the US. I was born overseas, but then we came back to the US and we didn't have military funding at that time because they weren't recognizing his psychiatric sort of illnesses as a reason to get retirement and be funded. So we were sort of just living off of my grandparents' well-being, which they don't have much either, but they were doing the best they could for us. And so, yeah, resources were just extremely low. And then at the same time, we have my father who is having all of this psychiatric sort of conditions going on. And for him, it was kind of a plethora of diagnoses that have been thrown at him over the years from the VA. So PTSD, schizophrenia, seizures, bipolar, just like everything under the sun, you name it, he's been diagnosed. And then he'd be trialed on all this huge variegated medications. And so my first experience to sort of the field of medicine was through that, and then seeing how he's reacting to medications, and then coming home and then having his psychoses or having his catatonic spells. So that's kind of what I first gravitated to as the field of medicine, because it just felt so bad. It didn't feel good. I was someone's changed so completely. It was what can I do to make this process better? And so that's why I started studying his prescription bottles, learning more about the pills he was on, going to some of his doctor meetings, that sort of thing. And that was sort of my very early exposures, even around age 8, starting there. So kind of just continued into that.
Many times people are introduced to the field of medicine, unfortunately, by being on the other side, the receiving end of it. And a lot of times people either go in to emulate the people that they see or to actually be different from them or be better than what they experience. So it again reiterates the point that whatever your background is, whatever your story is, it's not precluding you from doing what you want to do, especially if that's how you gained your interest. And embracing that story, though hard, is important because it basically informs how you practice medicine later on. The other thing I wanted to ask about is, yes, so you were interested in medicine from that perspective. How are you able to find resources and connect to people having not been exposed to like the traditional route of medicine and people helping you along in that way?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Um, and I mean, even college was such a mystifying process, I'll be
Mm-hmm.
honest. I think I'll be like honest, I was incredibly lucky with the resources in my community. And that's why I do just have such a love for community and all the like resources and incredible people involved in that because, had I not had teachers who pushed me to go into more academically challenging classes or even told me like, college is possible for you because it wasn't even on my radar until like very early of senior year. And I was like, what, really? Um, so without those kinds of people, I feel like I wouldn't have even pursued college and then wouldn't have been in medicine. But then in college, I did have a bit more guidance because I was at Cornell, and so they are very used to people going into medical school after. But even so, without the benefit of like having any family members or, and then none of my friends were biology at Cornell. Had a couple, but I don't know. I really like the human resources people. Maybe because I like to talk about humans a lot. I don't know. So again, I was a little bit mystified about that process, and then also I just like saw all the costs of applying, and I was like, no way. I was like, this is not happening. Like I didn't know about the AMCAS or AAMC fee assistance program.
Yeah.
I found that out like years later. I was like, oh, that would have been nice to know earlier.
PSA for everyone,
yeah.
if you are interested in the fee assistance program, please find out information before you take the MCAT. I also found out after the fact and it disqualifies you. So,
yep. Hindsight. So learn from our mistakes.
yes.
Know about that. But to be honest, I guess I don't even find it a mistake because my pathway I'm completely happy with, which is that I was engaged in research in college, which again, I know I'm fortunate because I was at a huge research university.
Right.
So it was really easy to get involved in multiple projects. So I then went into graduate school for a PhD, thinking that, I can help patients by tailoring and improving upon pharmaceuticals for them.
How did you transform your perspective, I guess, from wanting to help patients from the bench to wanting to help patients at the bedside?
Yeah. So I think I always wanted to directly care for patients. I just didn't know it as much. Like part of the beauty of like medical school and undergrad and everyone's life is that you get a better sense of who you are, which for me, I feel like I did need those extra years to sort of become a fuller picture. Because I mean, everything's just a life's journey, right?
Right.
And so in research, when I was in my PhD, what like really spoke to me was I was feeling kind of a disconnect between my research and the patients. Like, of course, I thought the power of research is incredible, but it was kind of weird that I was writing like grants and writing about patients with all these comorbidities and side effects of drugs I was looking up. And then I was like, I haven't seen these side effects in patients. Like, how can I write about this and feel passionate about that when I haven't even seen it? And so I started volunteering more over at the hospital we were associated with. And then just through those experiences, for multiple different reasons, actually, which I'd love to touch upon.
Go ahead.
It's different than medical school, but for multiple different reasons, just the interaction was incredibly powerful for me. And I knew like I want to be in more direct patient care as well.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what informed me. Yeah.
And you talked about a couple of reasons in addition to just the, the normal wanting to help patients that you wanted to go into medicine. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. And this is actually what like I wanted to hit home the most here is the fact that, sometimes with like different upbringings, so like, a father with having psychiatric conditions, neuropsychiatric stuff going on. And my brother later developed these as well. And so they were in cyclical hospital admissions, ICU admissions even. That combined with sort of low socioeconomic status, then, you know, I am kind of a gay man, which now is becoming more and more acceptable. I was raised in a very strong Christian household, so at church, you know, you kind of hear some statements that aren't as reassuring sometimes. So I think growing up, it's really, really easy to get yourself in a victimhood mindset. It's really easy to look at all of those negatives. And to be honest, I think patience are what helped me get out of that. You have to do a lot of work on your own, like for sure. You have to like force yourself to look for all the incredible positives in life. Like I was saying, I know I was lucky because of all the community resources. You know, I got free healthcare from the community. I got incredible teachers. I had like the most amazing mother and grandparents who like cared so much about me. So
shout out to his mom. His mom is amazing, guys.
Oh yeah, she is getting her medical chaplaincy now, so request her. She's really nice and sweet. But yeah, so I know all of those things, but it like took me a little bit longer to appreciate them and then see what my story actually gave me. You know, it's really easy to like look at what other people have or think about how other people's upbringing was. And for the longest time, you know, I was even like, I'll be honest, I had like a bit of shame about it. So even in college, like I wasn't completely honest about like my upbringing. Not that I lied, I just was like quiet about it. And so it took me a while to like take hold of that and be like, yeah, this is who I am. You know, these are integral pieces of who I am. And I think I really got that like in undergrad when I started volunteering more at like hospice. I was at hospice, and then going over and hearing those patients, it just felt like this such a strong connection, and I couldn't really understand why, but talking with them, I just felt like I could sort of imagine what they were going through a lot, and sort of informed me, hey, maybe your experiences gave you a different sort of understanding than others have. And so really, you know, we think about like taking care of patients, but sometimes they actually take care and can like spiritually heal us as well. So that process was just so profound to me. And yeah, so I also have like some mentees that I'm helping out now just because, you know, I wish I had that through the process.
Yeah.
Although I had so much other stuff. So of course not complaining too much, but I'm from New England, so we love to do that. But anyway, she was talking about, she's like, I have no experience in medicine. I have like no volunteer stuff. And I was like, you just told me A, B, and C.
Thank you.
Like these are all very unique and different experiences of medicine. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, you know, I was like, you're incredible. You should own that stuff. So definitely that'd be like a huge like thing for people to focus on, is just thinking about the diversity of different medical experiences. You don't have to fit into that perfect like pathway of, oh, I'm doing the volunteer work and you know, I'm shadowing, that sort of thing, and I have to get a physician's letter. Like no.
No, I agree completely. And also with that, you know, a lot of times I think because I mean, I remember how I felt when I was a pre-med, and I couldn't really see that either. Someone told me that, I'd be like, huh, what do you mean? So I think it also involves having mentors, especially people that are medical students, people that have gone through and can kind of see ahead of you and how your story will be impactful in your future. But I know that not many people have access to that. You know, like we were talking about before, if you haven't seen someone that looks like you, that comes from the same background as you, be a physician, it doesn't seem like an option for you because you haven't had that example. So again, that's what this whole channel is about, is to have people come here and tell their stories and be that example to those who don't have it. You know, show people that, no, you can come from where I come from and still do well. You can come from where I come from and still make it. I think that encouragement is needed. And I mean, like we said, you know, let us be your mentors. If you don't have people around you who've done this, look at us, you know, we're telling you right now, you can do it. Okay. Aside from the exemplary deficit, right? You don't have people to look up to in this regard, but you also talked about something that's really important, and that is, the mounting cost of becoming a pre-med student or even a medical student.
Mhm.
How did you navigate that? What was that like for you, and how did you prepare for medical school financially?
Yeah. So during undergraduate, I just felt like it would be like a very hard process.
Mm.
I wish I did know more. Like I already said about some of the resources, so I think those are like incredibly valuable to use. Also, like some of the testing companies, if you reach out to them, you can get a discount, which I learned later.
Hmm.
Because during my PhD, I actually reached out to them and I was like, hey, your program is like way too expensive for me, but I'm still interested. And I was able to get like a 65% discount at one of the like testing like courses, which and to be honest, like I don't think anyone actually needs that, but if you need to be like kept on a schedule and that sort of thing, it's really helpful. So for
Yep.
me, I thought that was useful, and then that saved me so much money. um, so that would be another way that I was able to figure it out. Also, I got a stipend during my PhD, so I'll be honest, it was a lot easier.
Right.
During undergrad, it was hard. You know, I was very lucky to have like my full scholarship there. But then my family back home still needed money, so I was working during undergraduate, and then just like there was no reserve left.
Hmm.
So I think in that case, it's harder, but it's possible.
Hmm.
And how it's possible is just reaching out and trying to tap every resource that you can. Um, is it going to be more effort than, you know, maybe someone who just has that resource available? Yeah, but that's part of the, you know, what defines you.
Hmm.
So not saying that it's right, not saying that it's okay. It is part of the process.
Say someone is at the beginning of your journey, they haven't had anyone who's a doctor in their family. They're just figuring out how to go to college. Um, they're thinking about this medical school journey, but they don't even know where to start. How do you advise someone like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think first would be to be introspective
Hmm.
and then figure out what draws you. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's okay not to know too. Like I said, a lot of this is a process. And I'll be honest, like everyone does act like they have it together at the medical school interview, like they have it figured out. I'll let you know from my classmates and from myself that is not true. So it's okay to still discover yourself even
Mm-hmm.
later on, but at least have like a strong inkling. And then like based upon that, like let's say you had a family member who went through cancer treatment, or know of someone who had that, then I would like try to reach out to different oncologist office and try to like shadow or talk to them. At least they may be more receptive to talking with you first or connecting you with someone to talking with. Your school resources, some schools are luckier than others, I know this. But I think reaching out to them and say, hey, I'm interested in these sort of opportunities. Do you know what other students have done? Can you set me up with something? I know I was very fortunate. My school had like a very like large laundry list kind of places we could connect with contact info. So I would try them as well. Um, Networking is just is it's part of sort of what you need to do, and just try to tap into everything. Pre-medical societies, they'll
Mm-hmm.
help you out. Sometimes a lot of the members will let each other know of opportunities too. Local hospitals usually have shadowing or volunteering opportunities, so I would say try to like figure out about yourself a little bit if you can, and it's okay if not. And then if you can try to like tailor an experience that will be sort of more specific to you. And I know when we talk about like colleges, it kind of seems we're more in that traditional pathway again. So just speaking more to like non-trad and what like I had to do since I was further away from my undergrad
Yeah.
at that time point was definitely like reaching out to the hospitals in my area and seeing what volunteer opportunities there were. That's how I found most of mine. Also believing in the fact that you have diverse experiences and understanding how what you already have relates to medicine, I think would be helpful. Um, for example, like had you volunteered in a special needs classroom, that's extremely relevant.
Yep. Yeah.
I to be honest, like medicine, part of the beauty of it is just that it's so vast and it touches upon so many things. I feel like I could live so many lifetimes in medicine and just explore so many pathways, and that sort of excites me. And what that means to you is that basically, like, you can tie so many different experiences to medicine.
So somebody that's in the middle of your journey, right? So they have, come up with this interest in medicine. They may be, like you said, removed from college, or maybe still in it through some non-traditional pathways. But they're saying, this is something that I want to do, and I don't really know how to financially prepare myself. I don't really know how to organize myself and get ready for what this entails. How would you speak to that kind of person?
Yeah, that's a good question. And it's hard without a lot of guidance here, because I think there is an incredible to preparing and getting your application ready for medical school. I think many people are capable of it, but there is sort of like a guidance would help so much. So in preparing, I would even say like looking at the AMCAS application and then seeing like what are the components of that.
Mm-hmm.
So you have like personal statement, you have experiences, they do, and then like hours of those experiences. So I would think about like, what are my experiences? What more can I get? Importantly, I'll be honest, like MCAT's a huge one here. I think schools do still use that. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, like they need some sort of subjective objective. Sorry, I think it's subjective, but and there's been much research to show different categories of people do worse. But unfortunately, part of the game still. So for me, like I was talking about, the course helped me like organize that and learn it in a timely fashion. I would just say questions.
Boom. Right there.
Do them, just like literally just memorize every type of question that will like ever be asked. And kind of same for med school too. But yeah, the clicking buttons doesn't go away. But the one thing I just want to like sort of emphasize is, and I feel like it's kind of neglected sometimes. People are like, you have these life hurdles and you just get over it and that's it. That's not true. That's not true at all. It's not like a one-time off, like, oh, I've gotten over it, like that's fine. And that's okay. Those experiences do make you who you are. They give you a different understanding of life, a different understanding of patients, not saying better or worse, just saying different. And own that and believe in that, and, have power in yourself. At the same time, like accept, and acknowledge, maybe not accept, but acknowledge, negative emotions or frustrations that come up. Like that's okay. And I feel like so much of what we're like preached is to like be the perfect candidate, that all of our experiences we have to say in a certain way. We're never allowed to acknowledge, hey, it actually was hard. And even me nowadays, like I don't do that when I'm interviewing, but I do it when I'm at home. And I think that's very important, to realize like, hey, yeah, I did go through a lot, and that's okay, and that gave me this. And then just to like practice positivity, I think is like a very important thing for me, at least. So just to make sure that I don't jump back into that victimhood or life was so hard sort of thing, because it's so easy to go there. Yeah. And if you do go there, it's okay, because what the strength in humans is like trying and getting back up, to me. So sorry, kind of going off on a tangent here.
No, go ahead. It's all words of wisdom.
I just feel like this is so important. I feel it's so incredibly important, and something that people just kind of think about.
Yeah.
So no, that's okay. And at least for me, everyone's different. So try like whatever works for you, sports, music, whatever. But for me, I try everything, because I'm such a wild person. I need everything to like force this brain be happy. So like I run, I meditate, like work out so hard, and then I do like my daily gratitudes, where like at the end of the day I write 3 things I'm grateful for. So all of these really help me, and then incredible friends and support. So
Definitely. No, thank you. I
Be
think that
mindful.
be mindful. I couldn't agree more. I think we don't, like you said, we don't address that enough because there are hurdles, there are potholes even that are not going to go anywhere. But at the same time, you have to acknowledge that, they happened. And part of the introspection that we were describing earlier is processing, because I was saying in an earlier video, if you don't process your emotions, you're going to walk around being an angry person that is mad at the world and the world is mad at you. And you're no good to yourself, you're no good to your loved ones, you're no good to your family, you're not good to your patients, most importantly. So part of being a good physician, part of being a successful one is being able to process. And it's hard. It's not something that's you can, I process my emotions and I'm good. No.
Yeah,
it takes
definitely.
time. It takes time and it takes work.
It's a life journey.
Yeah. So thank you so much, so much for being here. I am beyond grateful. I think your words were impactful to a lot of people who didn't know they needed them. So I really appreciate the fact that you're so open about your journey, about your experiences and how they shaped who you are. And I think people could learn from that same level of transparency, honesty, and introspection. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Tommy.
No
You're an awesome
problem.
friend.
Thank you. But I really do want you guys to, if you need to go back to sections of this video and really just listen to what he said, because I think it is vital information, vital advice for anyone in any career, but more so especially going into medicine. So thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I really appreciate your time. This has been your host, Tommy Talks, and this has been the NSSR. Bye.
Bye.